Greetings everyone, my name is Clara Medeiros and today I'll be sharing with you my research, which is entitled Climate Litigation as an Instrument for Protecting the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in the International Amazon. I was advised by Professor Heline Sivini Ferreira and I am a law student at the PUC-PR University, specifically in the campus Curitiba. Initially, I would like to highlight that this research is linked to two other research projects, one from CAPES and the other from CNPq, both of which are also coordinated by Professor Heline. I must start my presentation with bad news. Climate change is no longer a danger ahead. It is the reality we live in. In 2023, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, released its sixth and most recent assessment report, which concluded that the rising global temperature is unequivocally related to human activity. The document also highlights that vulnerable communities such as indigenous peoples, which have historically contributed less to climate change, are disproportionately affected by it. Also, it is noted that the Amazon region suffers drastic effects from the rising temperature. In that sense, and more than ever, the judiciary has been called to action. On that, the judicialization of issues related to climate change, or climate litigation as we call it, has been often appointed as a way to combat the climate crisis. More than that, this research means to visualize climate change as a tool to protect the rights of indigenous peoples within the context of the international Amazon. For this study, we relied on many different documents. However, I believe the most important material we had was the databases from the Sabin Center for Climate Change Law and the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment. From those databases, we extracted all cases from Latin America, which gave us the analysis of 221 cases by the end of the research. In spreadsheets, we identified the jurisdiction and the facts of each one of the 221 cases. We worked with two groups. We identified all Latin American cases and from those selected the ones that involved indigenous peoples. Later on, we separated every case that happened within the international Amazon. So that is Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Guyana, and Peru. So as an example, this is one single tab from this spreadsheet that we constructed. This is the specific tab of the state of Pará within the Brazil folder of our spreadsheets. This method helped us organize all of the information that we collected. For a visual representation, we also made circle charts. It was a very helpful way to understand the context we were working with. It is visually clear that the majority of cases analyzed are from Brazil, and from those, the Amazonian cases definitely stand out. The cases analyzed carried a very interesting rationale. In the majority of Brazilian cases, judges decide based on the Brazilian Federal Constitution, the Paris Agreement, the National Policy on Climate Change, the National Environmental Policy, and the more interesting one, I think, the International Labour Organization Convention number 169. Our research has delved into many different specific cases, including the anti-Mary PAE cases, which represents 22 of the 35 cases within the Amazonas tab. This situation specifically revealed to us an intrinsic relationship between violence against indigenous peoples and the destruction of nature. The result is the climate crisis we currently experience. I would like to conclude that the numerical panorama is not as interesting as the qualitative assessment that comes from it. We identified an intergenerational climate legal landscape, and we identified a profile for the Latin American cases of climate litigation. It was possible to visualize that climate disputes can be protective devices for indigenous peoples and traditional communities. However, its decisions must carry an imposition of implementing mitigation measures to have an effect on protecting our shared future. I can't wait to share even more with you at my CMIC presentation. Thank you so much for your time.